Warning, 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 warning. 3, 2, 1. The FantasyFootballTips.co podcast with Mills and Quigliano.
Hi, you're listening to Fantasy Football Tips in association with Premier Punt, the home of daily fantasy football betting. My name's Mills. I'm joined by Quigliano in a studio that is surrounded by some of the worst wind I've ever heard.
Why, have you been eating beans, Mr. Mills?
It's a very windy day. I think the Met Office have actually named this storm something. I don't know what it is, but
Hurricane Heinz coming out of Mills's backside.
Something like that. Anyway, Quigliano, it's just the two of us today, and it's game week 13. Unlucky for some, hopefully lucky for me.
Yeah, well, who are we missing?
We're missing JP, aren't we, this week? He's become a sort of stalwart over the last couple of weweeks.
Definitely a wart, an unwanted wart, and I think we're better off without him, so yeah.
Okay, so it's just us. So how have you fared over that international break, Quigliano? I've been very busy, and I'll tell you why in a minute, but how have you been?
Right, very busy. Well, no, I don't want to ignore me. Let's hear more about Mills.
Okay, well, you might have, if you've logged on to fantasyfootballtips.co, you will have noticed that the site has had an entire overhaul, Quigliano.
Facelift.
It's had a massive facelift. I've been extremely busy. It looks really good, and we've also got a premium section for those members who just want a little bit more. And part of this podcast is going to feature, as one of those extras, we've got the podcast extra, which is going to come up later.
Right, I mean, so you said it looks really good now. Who's forming that opinion? What's that been based on?
Well, it's based on me. Plus, to be fair,
so the man who's made it.
Yeah, I've given it a road test.
And you've rated it yourself as well. Excellent.
5 out of 5, absolutely.
It's great stuff there.
Okay, no, but to be fair, the feedback from the fans has been good. Our email subscribers have been emailing me and saying how much they've enjoyed the new look website. So anyway, we're not here to self-promote, obviously. We're here to talk game week tips. So Quigliano, I want to get straight in there this week.
Diving straight on the tips?
Straight in on the tips, yeah.
Wow.
We'll talk about the podcast team in a while. So I want to go straight in on the Gary of the week.
Well, unlike you actually, because you obviously do something onto your website and then brag about it yourself. I actually have to put myself out there. I sit my head above the parapet, getting shot at.
Who's been shooting at you?
No, I'm judged by the results, aren't I? So, based on it so far, I've been very successful. So this time, I'm predicting the future again. He's back, risen from the dead, 3 days later, and I'm predicting Gary of the week, Eden Hazard.
Are you being serious?
Is that John McEnroe impression, or is that...
No, that is Mills. That is me asking you. What are you basing that on?
Well, I'm just telling you. I'm not basing it on anything, mate. I'm telling you.
So this is literally a prophecy. This is not based on fixture. It's not based on form. It's certainly not based on form. This is just you saying that you think Eden Hazard this week is going to perform well.
Yeah. What was hard for that? You were struggling to understand that.
I just don't understand where it's coming from.
It's coming from the cheap is now. Oh, I'll tell you what, I'm struggling here. The price is now right. Okay, he's dropped to a reasonable fee. The fixtures that he faces, well, he's got Norwich for one at home, but after that, he's got one tough fixture to get over, and then after that, it's plain sailing. You need to get in on Hazard because he is about to kick off. Points wise, he's going to bully Norwich and he's going to say, "Why were you doubting me?"
Okay, I mean, I will back you up to an extent on that because I did write an article, and this is a premium article, by the way, so you need to be a member to read this one. But looking at
so
Chelsea,
don't say it online. We don't want these cheapskates getting this for nothing.
So, no, well, I'm not going to go into the full
just
details.
Start missing words out as you talk. So what we and basically so you could do something like that.
If you're a premium member, you'd hear all of that. No, I'm not going to obviously go into the full details, but generally speaking, Chelsea look like they're, like you say, they're about to go on a very good run.
Fixtures
wise, anyway. Bournemouth at home coming up, Sunderland at home coming up, Watford. The fixtures, Leicester away, the fixtures look very, very tasty for Chelsea. And at some point, they've got to come good, haven't they? Whether Hazard is going to be the man to do that, we'll wait and see. But I think it was Zinedine Zidane this week that said Hazard is the third best player in the world currently. I mean, I don't know what he's basing that on.
I think
this
he may have
season,
been listening to something I was saying earlier in the week and has just repeated it to his friends. So.
Okay, perhaps. So, anyway, Eden Hazard. So, you're going to go Eden Hazard captain?
Correct.
Okay. And moving on then, the Xabi Alonso.
The long shot. Now, some might say this actually, the Hazard was the long shot, but no, this neck is well and truly out there. I've stuck it right out there. I'm backing Martial.
Okay, interesting. I like that.
Long shot. Have you got a strong stomach? They've got Watford, who generally are doing okay defensively. But I just fancy him. I think he's going to get some goals, and we've all forgotten about that electric start he had. And I think this is the week that he's going to pick up some points.
Okay, so that's interesting, particularly that this week we've got a lot of yellow flags in terms of injuries. Wilfried Bony, Jamie Vardy, although I do think Vardy will start because he's going for that record, and England rested him, didn't they? But Bony is a concern. There are players, there are lots of teams out there that have got concerns over
Similar
injuries.
price players as well.
Similar price, yeah. So could be an alternative if he's not currently in your team.
There you go, mate.
Okay, I like that. So, the Delia, who are we calling out this week?
I'm calling out Walters of Stoke. Okay, where are you? Let's be having you. It's all right scoring 2 goals for the Republic of Ireland, and I take my hat off. I'm very happy about that result. But I want to see some of that in the Premier League. He showed glimpses of high points potential last season. So where are you, Jonathan Walters?
Okay, we'll be back after this. Oh no, sorry.
You've missed. Are you trying to tread on my toes?
I am trying to tread on your toes.
Well, can you get off those, please? That's a new trainers.
Okay, sorry.
Side tips. You were bigging it up for the last few days.
I was. I mean, it had become a fan's favourite. How quickly it had been forgotten.
Well, it's because you're spending all this premium cash, aren't you? Yeah. But right then, side tips and hashtag tweet us, please. FPL_the source. Side tips, Deulofeu, side tip last week, got 1 assist. The Everton fixture run continues. They've got Aston Villa at home. Back him. Harry Kane, he is back. If you don't know that by now, it's time to jump on the bandwagon. He's also been provided some assists by Rose at left back, another side tip. Spurs clean sheet potential. They let it slip against Arsenal, but potential going forward there, and they've got West Ham at home. I fancy it. Lukaku, another man who's doing well at the minute for Everton. They've got the fixtures as well. Side tip. And finally, the last one, based on the fixtures coming up, you want your cheapies, Begovic. If you haven't already backed him for a cheap Chelsea keeper, get him in.
Okay, I do like that last one particularly. Side tips, brilliant as ever, Quigliano. And I do agree, I think Chelsea are going to pick up a few clean sheets over the next 6 weeks. So I do like that last one particularly.
I must put an asterisk next to that. Just
in
obviously,
case.
You've got to monitor Courtois' return. But based on those fixtures, Begovic.
Brilliant. And we'll be back right after this.
You are listening to Mills and Quigliano on the FantasyFootballTips.co podcast. Sponsored by Premier Punt. All your fantasy Premier League tips in one juicy little podcast. Get in touch at www.fantasyfootballtips.co.
Okay, Quigliano. So we're going to talk podcast team.
Why bother?
It wasn't that bad, was it, last week?
It's
46 points. I mean, it's not great, is it? It's nothing to shout about.
It's hideous. It's like an illegitimate child that you don't want around you.
And we've logged on today to 5 injuries as well. So it's concerning to say the least.
Might be looking at the wild card.
Oh yes, of course. But we played it.
Oh dear, that is a shame. Well, we wait for January. We wait.
We wait and we reassess.
It's going to be a very, very late charge for winning this, isn't it?
It certainly is. But, you know, we're not even a third of the way through. We're pretty much a third of the way through. But there's still time.
Our team looks like something that rhymes with third, that is for sure.
Yeah, and it still begins with a T.
Yes.
Okay, so looking at the team this week.
Well, that was your Scrabble link there, mate. Based on that.
There was actually a question for you, Quigliano, and a word-based question. This was the only question that came in on Twitter this week. I don't know if this says more about our tips or not. FPL Kegger.
What a legend.
FPL Kegger, at Kegger1988, if you want to respond to this yourself. But the question is, how many points is Quigliano worth in Scrabble?
It is worth a night out on the town with Quigliano if you get that in your Scrabble board.
So it's got to be genuine. How are you going to sort of officiate that?
Just a photo, just one photo. It'll be as clear as day that they've done it.
So send your photos in to @FPL_the source. If this happens in a game of Scrabble at any point in the next 12 months, is that a fair time period? Then you get a night out on the town with Quigliano, all expenses paid at the personal cost of Quigliano.
That is a shame that you've said that. That's not come from me. That's not a legally binding
Okay,
contract.
so a mutual expense. Is
Just
that
a
fair to
night
say?
out on the town. We'll hit the tiles.
Okay, it sounds great. Okay, please send those in. Anyway, back to more serious FPL pressing business. We've got transfers to make in our team, Quigliano.
Well, we have. It's looking like... Ooh, that could have been poor taste, so I'm not going to go down that one. It's not looking great out there.
You know, Bellerin, huge concern in defence. 25% likelihood that he will play. He's not going to play easy this weekend. So we've had to make a decision there. And the player that we're looking at, Quigliano, to replace Bellerin?
Similar type of player, really. Somebody who gets forward in a team that is capable of keeping clean sheets. Ryan Bertrand, former side tip, which I know he was very happy about. Sent me a direct message saying cheers for the support. So yeah, Bertrand's in there. And then also Lukaku has been put in for Bonnie because we're just not sure about old Wilfred.
So we've actually took a -4, haven't we?
That just shows how much we care about this team. The fact that we're willing to just take hit upon a hit. Like Ronda Rousey at the weekend.
Absolutely. But I always kind of justify a -4 by thinking who I'm going with captain. And we've decided to go with Lukaku, haven't we? Because we haven't got Eden Hazard in our team,
The
who
man
you
who
have
will
called
score.
out the Gary. So we're going to go Lukaku, one of your side tips.
Yes, mate. Are you going to be tweeting? Now, I did say I want you to be tweeting these players because sometimes they're not getting all the news from Quigley.
I'm not sure if Romelu is on Twitter. But
He is on there. I follow him myself.
Okay, so I will tweet him this week.
Fantastic.
Okay. I also need to do a shout out, Quigliano,
To the partially deaf?
We're going to do a shout out. If you want to do that, carry on.
No, as in that you must do that. No, it's kind of a joke there, but you've ruined it. Carry on.
A shout out to a good friend, Jamie Bakewell. And
Oh, right. I do like his cakes are exceedingly good.
he might not get that. He's based in Australia. And
Bakewell tart.
Jamie does his own FPL podcast. He listens to us. He's a massive fan of the show. He classes himself as an amateur. He sees us as seasoned professionals. I'm not too sure why.
Probably based purely on Quigliano's tips.
Maybe. And if you want to have a listen to his podcast, certainly, we're all about promoting others, and it's a good old FPL community out there, isn't it?
Until we get really big, and then we'll try and crush any rival.
His podcast is called FPL Dilemma of an Addict.
Right.
I'm glad it starts with the FPL.
Yeah.
But I've had a quick listen myself, and it's pretty good actually. It's nice to hear two guys with the old Australian accents there commenting on our game. They absolutely love it. They are properly
Whereabouts in
into it.
Australia, mate?
I mean, I know you've spent a lot of time in Australia, haven't you, Quigliano?
Down in Melbourne.
I actually think he's based in Melbourne. I might be talking out of turn, but I'm sure he'll be in touch to let me know. He was very, very excited about the prospect of having a shout out on the podcast.
Well, I'm thinking we get a nice little dialogue going. We could get him on Skype on a live podcast.
I like the sound of that. So, Jamie, I'm sure you're listening to this. Big up to your podcast, FPL Dilemma of an Addict. Maybe some of our listeners will tune into you, and hopefully they'll come back to us.
This guy's much better, so I won't listen to that. So.
Okay, so that is pretty much it. If you are listening to the standard podcast, if you're a premium member, then you'll be listening to the podcast extra, which is coming up right after this. If not, we will see you next week. But you know what? Why not sign up to premium? £6, Quigliano, is a special price for podcast listeners, and that's only until Saturday. The link to that is fantasyfootballtips.co/podcast offer. Literally making that up on the spot because I'm going to go and write that homepage for them later. That's the only place you can get that price. It's £9 for everyone else. What a bargain. But with that kind of...
A steal.
An absolute steal. Podcast extra coming up after this.
Warning. 3, 2, 1. The FantasyFootballTips.co podcast with Mills and Quigliano.